Call the meeting to order. We're going to ask Councilman Cook to lead us in prayer, Councilman Bellard to lead us in the pledge.
Dear wise and loving Father, first let me say thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health we need to fulfill our callings, for sustenance, and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. Thanks as well for the freedom to embrace you. We are grateful for our mayor, for all the various levels of city officials in our community. I'm asking that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of welfare and true needs for our people, a keen thirst for justice and righteousness, confidence in what is good and fitting, and personal peace in their lives and joy in their tasks. I pray for the agenda set before us tonight. Please give us assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our community. It is in your most blessed name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We welcome you to the Lafayette City Parish Council meeting. We, as your representatives in the Lafayette Consolidated Government, welcome your involvement and encourage your participation. If you wish to address the council on any item on this agenda, please fill out a blue request to address the council form, noting the agenda item number. The blue form is available to you in the foyer and should be submitted to the council clerk, Ms. Veronica L. Williams, seated to my left in the middle, prior to the call of the agenda item. It is important to fill out the blue form completely and note the specific agenda item number in which you wish to speak. If the card is not completely filled out or is not legible to the clerk, you will not be given the opportunity to speak. If you have materials you wish to submit to the council, please give those to Mrs. Williams along with your blue form. In an effort to allow everyone an opportunity to be heard, the 5-minute rule will be in effect. Speakers shall refrain from debating, personal attacks, and from making confrontational or derogatory comments. I'm requesting that the first row to my left be used for media only. Lastly, food and drinks are not allowed in the auditorium, and all phones and electronic devices shall be silenced from this point forward. I am also requesting that anyone who approaches the council state their name and title for the official record. Meeting procedures are, in fact, by resolutions and not by Robert's Rules of Order. Documents, including agendas, ordinances, resolutions, and minutes related to this meeting are posted online at www.lafayettela.gov or refer to the web address on the top of the agenda. The council encourages your involvement and participation by volunteering for boards and commissions. If you are interested in finding out which board suits your interest, please call 291-8800 or pick up a pamphlet at the door. I have quite a few chair announcements tonight, so members, you want to prepare and adhere to these, please. Item number 8, adoption of ordinance number 212-2017, relative to a cooperative endeavor agreement with the 15th Judicial District. Legal has requested an amendment to replace the CEA with an updated CEA. And I've also been informed that there will possibly be an additional floor amendment for this item. That's item number 8. Item number 9. Adoption of ordinance 215-2017 relative to the condemnation of 315 West End Avenue. Development and Planning has requested the item be pulled as the house has already been demolished by the owner. Item number 9 is being pulled. Item number 11. Adoption of ordinance 217-2017 relative to 831 Rue du Belier annexation, Development and Planning has requested deferral until the December 5th to allow the assessor's office more time to complete the certificate. Item number 11 is being deferred. Item number 19, it's an introductory ordinance. Number 224-2017, relative to the reinstatement of certain promotions. The Chief Administrative Officer has requested an amendment to replace the budget revision with a modified budget revision. This item will be removed from the in global list for separate vote and discussion. That's item 19. Other announcements. I would like to wish Lo Duyon, Lafayette Consolidated Government's Chief Administrative Officer, a happy birthday, which he celebrates on November the 28th. Happy birthday. Also, due to the holidays, the January 2018 council meetings have been scheduled on the second and fourth Tuesdays in the month, but will return to the normal first and third meetings in February. Section 2-07 of the Lafayette Home Rule Charter states the council shall meet regularly at least twice a month at intervals of at least 2 weeks at such times and places as the council may prescribe. The month of January with the holidays, based on where the first Tuesday failed related to New Year's and Martin Luther King, that's why these adjustments were made. Also, Council Member Kevin Nakan is running a little late. He has sent word that he will be here shortly, but Councilman Nakan is running a little late due to business that he was taking care of prior to this meeting. And finally, I would just like to publicly commend the Mayor President, Mr. Robideau. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the leadership that you displayed leading up to this past weekend's election. These issues are never easy. It creates significant exposure. And I tell you, during my time here in Lafayette, I don't know that I have witnessed a mayor, a parish president, or a mayor president, or city parish president step out into the public as you did, took the licks, put out the information, solicited the support. The 13% turnout that we experience here is certainly still something that I know we all want to work on, but nonetheless, the importance of getting these millages renewed and rededicated was of the utmost importance, and I just want to commend you for your efforts. I want to set, yeah. Unfortunately, during that time, there was a lot of misinformation that was put out that had to be overcome. And for whatever reason, in today's form of governance, people simply have to plant seeds of negativity to get people outside of themselves. And I know you had to endure that, but there was something done at a council meeting the last time we was here by my colleague from District 9. And it became important to me because he referenced the behavior or the actions of this council. I would like to note the fact that there are 3 of us, or a total of 4, one of which is the member who made the comments, but Castile, Boudreaux, and Bellard has been here 10 years with Mr. Theriault. Mr. Nakan has been here 6 years, and Mr. Lewis, Conk, Mrs. Cook, and Mrs. Hebert has been here 2 years. But in these discussions that was had, Mr. Theriault indicated that he had tried to rededicate monies before to drainage, and that it was because of the council, his exact words, it was because of the council that he was never able to do so. So he left the meeting early that night, but before the meeting was over, I requested a public record that I was provided, and I've been provided with every action that Mr. Theriault has taken from March of 2008 to October of 2017. And with the exception of one instance where he partnered with 4 other members of the council, Mr. Terrio, in fact, has never, ever attempted to move money from anywhere and dedicate it specifically to drainage. And there's a document that could prove that. It's unfortunate that this member or anybody would go to such effort to hinder, to disrupt, to hold back, to interrupt a process that was so dear to so many people. But the good prevailed, and the right decision was made. And now we have the opportunity to go do some work. So again, Mr. Mayor, it's an honor to serve with you, and I thank you for your efforts, and I look forward to some of the drainage ideas that have been spoken about previously that now we will be able to move forward on. Thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to open the floor to council announcements. Item number 3. Mr. Terrio.
Well, first, Mr. Boudreaux, let's state that you are a Democrat and I'm a conservative. Let's also go back to the meeting. Normally I wouldn't bless you with a response to that crazy accusation. My words were that I have had discussions on drainage many times. I never said that the council never did it. Now, in speaking of the council, you said I've never done it. Neither has any other council member ever done it either. When did the flooding happen? A year ago this past August. Yes, I've been here 10 years like you and 2 others. You know, the way I see this is that this is or was a taxpayer-funded scavenger hunt. And it's typical protocol for individuals. When you can't accept a message, you attack the messenger. And that's basically what this is. That's all I have to say.
I know the media is always looking for something to write about. I will provide you with a record of his statement, and I challenge you to write an accurate article on the results of the search. Simple as that. It's not a scavenger hunt. It's not an attack of the messenger, because the messenger is not very effective. It's about being sick and tired of somebody sitting here, and every time something doesn't go his way, he blames it on the balance of the council. The information is in black and white. Y'all know how to do your public records request. I would hope that y'all do one on this one. Any other council announcements? Seeing none, we're going to now go to Executive President's report. Mr. Robideau.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple proclamations. I think is Tony Brown here? We're going to, the first one is the Christiana Smith African American Alumni Chapter Proclamation. It reads, whereas the Christiana Smith African American Alumni Chapter of UL Lafayette was named for the first African American graduate from then Southwestern Louisiana Institute in May of 1956. SLI was the first previously all-white state-supported college or university in the South to allow black students to enroll. And whereas the chapter was formally chartered in 1992 by Lucille Victor, Al Francis Victor, Nathan Thornton, Bobby Perkins, Anita Bendy, Yvonne Jones-Prejean, Aubrey Braithwaite, Sandra Melanson, Sharon Jones, Regina Briscoe, Elsie Jones Azar, Dr. Christopher Williams, and Carmela Farrell. And whereas the purpose of the chapter of the UL Lafayette Alumni Association is twofold. First, to cultivate interest in and maintain contact with the activities and welfare of UL Lafayette and to promote fellowship among UL Lafayette alumni. And second, to encourage and foster interest in and create better understanding of the university and its purpose among prospective students and friends of UL Lafayette. And whereas since the chapter began, it has raised funds each year for scholarships on the basis of grade point average, school and community activities, and financial status. The chapter established a UL Lafayette Endowment Scholarship Fund at its inception. And whereas the Christiana Smith chapter of the UL Lafayette Alumni Association is celebrating 25 years of service to Lafayette and surrounding communities and is committed to continuing the legacy of Christiana Smith and its charter members by serving the community. Therefore, I, Joel Robideau, Mayor President of Lafayette Consolidated Government, do hereby proclaim November 21st, 2017 as Christiana Smith African American Alumni Chapter Day. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. We are proud to have existed for 25 years, serving the Lafayette and surrounding communities. In those 25 years, we have awarded over 35 scholarships, totaling $28,400. We are now, we have taken a $1,000 endowed scholarship, and we have now grown it into over $45,000. We just celebrated our 26th Sweet Sounds of Sharing, which is our annual fundraiser. From our annual fundraiser, we are able to award 3 $1,000 scholarships every year, 2 to incoming freshmen, and 1 to a 5th-year senior who no longer has TOPS. We are proud that we are able to make sure that we are investing in our future. We ask everyone to support us as we continue to serve this community.
Mr. Robideau, before you go forward, if you could, just want to announce that we are officially under fire watch, meaning that the members of the fire department who are present is going to be directing your activity. We need to utilize all seats. We're going to open up any available seats in the media row can now be occupied. We're going to open up all seats that are available. They're going to try to maintain a walking path on every aisle. Therefore, you would need, if you're standing, you're going to need to be against the walls. And I understand that there's a significant line that is outside of the auditorium attempting to get in. So again, if you could just follow the instructions and directions of those fire department and law enforcement personnel who are here, we would really, really appreciate that. Just let them know if they, once they sign it, you go back out. We don't want them standing along the walls. Okay. Go back out and we'll call you when it's time to speak. Okay. So anyone who has signed a blue card, if you're standing, you're welcome, and there are microphones that are out in the lobby area so you could hear the meeting progress. But when it's your time to speak, you will be called in and given the time to re-enter the room in order to speak. So I think they're going to try to eliminate as much standing as possible. And we'll leave that up to you and your staff, Chief. Thank you very much. Mr. Robideau, you could continue, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And there's a TV outside, too, so you can monitor it both visually and audibly. The next proclamation, Mr. Chairman, is the Giving Tuesday proclamation. Whereas Giving Tuesday, I'm sorry, if Lisa Prejean requested it, or Renee Menard is here. Okay. Whereas Giving Tuesday was established as a national day of giving on the Tuesday following Thanksgiving, and whereas Giving Tuesday is a global celebration of philanthropy and volunteerism where people give whatever they are able to give, and whereas Giving Tuesday is a day where citizens work together to share commitments, rally for favorite causes, build a stronger community, and help others, and whereas it is fitting and proper on Giving Tuesday and on every day to recognize the tremendous impact of philanthropy, volunteerism, and community service in the city and parish of Lafayette, where the spirit of neighbor helping neighbor thrives, and whereas Giving Tuesday is an opportunity to encourage citizens to serve others throughout this holiday season and during other times of the year, and whereas Family Promise of Acadiana, a nonprofit organization helping local homeless families gain and maintain long-term independence, will host its 4th annual Giving Tuesday celebration with a children's book donation drive. Now, therefore, I, Joel Robideau, Mayor President of Lafayette Consolidated Government, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, November 28, 2017, as Giving Tuesday, urging all residents and businesses to include charitable giving in their holiday and end-of-year gift-giving plans.
Thank you. Family Promise of Acadiana has been serving homeless families here in Lafayette for 13 years, and we appreciate the City Council giving us a moment this evening and for making this proclamation. Thank you.
Couple of more items, Mr. Chairman. Item C is the budget to actual comparisons. Those are comparisons that were required now by the legislative auditor to provide to the council, which we have done, and at least I think it's once a month. Make sure that you guys have that in hand and have had a chance to review it and answer any questions that you may have, and certainly we're willing to do that. And then the last item, Thomasine is here. If need be, we have a bid recommended for award. Thomasina, you want to explain, please?
Good evening. I'm Thomasina Oliver, Purchasing Manager. These items are inventory items for vehicle maintenance. Therefore, purchasing needs council approval to award these to the low responsive bidders.
Has been moved upon by Nakhan. Does he have a second? Conk seconds it. Council discussion? There is none. Any blue cards on this item? Call the vote, please, on D.
Yes.
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 District 5?
Yes.
District 6?
Yes.
District 7?
Yes.
District 8?
Yes.
District 9?
Yes.
Motion to award bid is approved.
And just for the record, on C for the budget to actual, there were no council members who indicated any questions at this time.
That's all for me, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to now move to comments from the public. Again, this portion of our meeting is an opportunity to make your voice heard before the council, the administration, and the public. This is the time to speak about topics that are not included as agenda items. As I noted earlier, requests to make comments specific to agenda items should be made prior to the call for that agenda item by completing a blue request to address the council form for each agenda item you wish to address, with that agenda item number noted on the blue form. Please, we request that all matters regarding specific city parish employees be directed to the administration and that it not be addressed at this public forum. We as a council have a concern for the privacy and protection of government employees. With that said, however, if your concern is not resolved in either an expeditious or satisfactory fashion, there are other avenues which you can pursue, and we ask that you follow up with the council office. Also, confrontational statements and/or threats will not be tolerated. We ask that you conduct yourself in a civil manner and with the same courtesy that you would expect as others. For those of you who are visiting for the first time, regardless of what side of the room you come from, you could use either mic standing, and if you are in need of sitting while you speak, you could sit at the center console or the center table here and speak from the seated mic if that becomes necessary for you. But all mics are going to be operable. With that said, Madam Clerk, first speaker, please.
Marcella Guest.
Good evening. My name is Marcella Guest, and I've lived in Lafayette Parish for 16 years. I appreciate...
Ms. Guest, pull your mic down just a little bit, get a
We're
better
staying
sound.
on my tippy toes? Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Make sure I get my time. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight, to address council, the mayor, and my fellow citizens of Lafayette Parish. August 1967, November 1972, October 1984, April 1986, September 2001, March 2009, April 2010, August 2016. Those dates held significant life-changing events for me, some profound sadness, others pure joy. Surely August 2016 resonates with most people in this room. The great and historic flood of Louisiana, wherein 30 parishes were declared a disaster area. More than 1,500 homes, businesses, and other structures were flooded in Lafayette Parish alone. But that doesn't speak to the human element, a wake-up call. When the saying, "Don't take it personally, it's just business," lit a fire in me. August 2016 in Lafayette Parish, yes, I'm one of those, a flood victim, a flood survivor, and now an activist. It's been an exhausting experience that connects people through calamity. We are each other's peers. For some, it was devastating, traumatic. For others, an inconvenience, disruptive. And still others, it was a chance to demonstrate the best of humanity and the best of what Lafayette has. And I was glad to be present for that award tonight. Selflessness and great humility was demonstrated. Serving others with nothing in return expected. So I'm a nurse of many years, but it doesn't take being in the healthcare industry to know how damaging chronic stress can be. My heart aches when I think of those who were most severely impacted by the flood event itself and then the aftermath and the ongoing. Even now, I think of the disabled, the sick, those with terminal illnesses at the time, and those who have developed terminal illnesses since, those grieving losses in the midst of all of it, the financial burdens, those with little children, those with no close family nearby, no social support, and the list goes on and on. Is it just the nurse in me, or do you feel it too? Rich, poor, young, old, black, white, Boudreaux, Thibodeaux, Smiths, Jones, Gonzalez, Hernandez, and the guests. Diverse, unique, worthy individuals connected through this shared experience, a wake-up call. So while all this is true, I'm not here because of August 2016. The past is in the past. I'm here because of subsequent flooding in Lafayette since that time, due to poor drainage with non-historical amounts of rainfall. I'm a member of the emerging Lafayette Parish Flood Forum, and I'm here to appeal to your rational sensibilities in addressing the backlog of drainage maintenance compounded by the damage to the coulee system. Respectfully, let's get it done. Also, a quick search in the internet yields a multitude of articles regarding human factors that increase flooding risks. Briefly, this is just one article. Human factors increased increasing flood risk. Deforestation, because removing trees reduces the amount of water intercepted and increases runoff. I imagine sugarcane fields might count in there. Urbanization, because towns and cities have more impermeable surfaces.
Ms. Guest, your time is up, and we thank you for that. And I actually gave you your time back for adjusting your mic.
You
just for the
did?
record.
Oh. Thank you so much. And again, respectfully.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Dale Nepper.
Hold on, Ms. Clerk. I think we got 38 speakers in public comment. So we're going to ask that you not clap in between each one because of the delay that will take place to move on to the next speaker before the next name could be announced. And after everyone speaks, if we want to applaud the effort of all members who came out to speak, we could certainly allow that. But I respectfully ask you to not clap or show favor after each individual speaker. Could you call that name again, please?
Dale Knepper.
Good evening. Thank you for taking your time to hear us. Dale Nepper, 210Q Long Plantation. I've been a homeowner there since September 12th, 1990, and that's a little over 27 years. Our townhouse is located in the back of the complex, and it backs up to the new development that was going to be a condominium towers, but has changed from what I understand. It has never flooded in those 27 years, nor come close to getting into the unit. When we purchased the townhome, there was a levee around the property and a pump installed in the front. We were told by a realtor that this was installed by the city of Lafayette. To my knowledge, there has been no upkeep or minimum upkeep to the levee or upgrade to the pump since we've purchased the property. Those improvements worked for this development for at least 26 years. The landscaping at Long Plantation Townhomes has not changed. What has changed is the development in the surrounding area. Park Lafayette was built with enormous amounts of concrete requiring enormous amounts of drainage. Camellia Boulevard was extended to Verrott, and construction directly behind our complex for a high-rise condominium complex was begun. I understand the complex has since changed, but the infrastructure for the high-rise was already in place. The land behind being developed directly behind my property for the condominium is higher than my property, about this much. During the 2016 flood, the water was coming over the levee. In both floods, water was backflowing out of the drains into the parking lot, coming up into the parking lot, which means it wasn't being pulled on with a pump. I did a little, not investigating, but inquiring, and understood that there was some drains that went through the levee with maybe a flapper on them, and was told by the two different people in the city that yes, and they have been inspected. I'm familiar with this type of drainage, and those flappers will cease and rust up and stick, so maybe that's one of the problems. In 2016, we received 17 inches of water in our unit, requiring a complete rebuild of 6 months, resulting in loss of rent, construction costs, and grief. The water in November of 2017 flood was at our door thresholds. Remember, Long Plantation was not in a flood zone and still isn't, as far as I know. So what is my problem and why am I here is to let you know that I've been let down. You've approved building a Park Lafayette Camellia extension in the condominium complex without doing anything for us in reference to drainage. We know what water does. The city engineer had to know where these concrete parking lots would drain and had to know what it would do. I understand a drainage pond was constructed down Camellia Boulevard, but the water can't get to it. The ditches have not been updated, cleaned, etc. The pump was not updated, and we've received an additional pump after the flood, but all too late. By the way, the additional pump failed this last time. And I was asked, why did I buy there in the first place? And it was, we were protected then, and our city protected us, and we trusted that we would be taken care of. I did want to mention that since the flood, the 2016 flood, which brought our property values down, I received a nice over 38% property tax increase. Since then, receiving that, we've had a second flood. I can guarantee you my property value has not gone up 38%. So I'm paying more taxes for no more improvement, lower property values, and adding insult to injury. My property is valued at what the city says it is. If the property is valued at what the city says it is, I would gladly offer my property up to be bought out by the city. We do need your help. We need city engineering decisions to be made to represent all of us, not just a few. We still need it. We have until the spring rains and, God forbid, hurricane season to do something. We just went through a long drought, allowing a lot of levee work to have been done, but it wasn't. Please consider us in your decision-making process, and we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Cynthia Mesh.
Ms. Mesh.
I don't know how I follow that. My name is Cynthia Mesh, and I'm with the Palms subdivision. I have been working with Ms. Les Hebert, and I'm so appreciative of everything you've done. However, I am here tonight with the Lafayette Parish Flood Forum, and I'm very excited about the rededicated millage for drainage. I'm very interested to see where that will go. But I'm also here to request that you consider halting new development under impermeable surfaces, to consider that while doing the assessments that I know you need done for the drainage. Reason being is we're continually looking at where all of the water is running off, but we're continuing to build more places, more businesses, more homes. And what is that doing for that runoff water? I live in the Palm subdivision, and I've had video footage where I can show that the home that we have that hadn't flooded before has now flooded 3 times in the last 14 months. We're extremely concerned about this, and the only thing that has changed is 2 new dealerships. Ms. Liz is working with me to find out if everything is being done properly, to make any changes to make that better, but I'm concerned about the entire city, which is why I'm here to talk to the council tonight. And so again, I just, along with, I think what a lot of people are here tonight to say is, please think about how we can stop what's happening now before more drainage issues come. So what can we do to stop impermeable surfaces from runoff water? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Shannon Bro.
I have a question for the council. How many of y'all homes flooded?
We don't do question and answer at these meetings, ma'am. If you would like to put something in writing, yeah. We don't do show of hands and all of that, yeah.
Our home, when we bought our home in 2000, I think it is, in Youngsville, I'm smack dab across the street on South La Riviere Road, across from the high school. That's real nice and high, where there ain't no flooding gonna happen over there. But we're getting flooded. I got flooded in 2016, and we also got almost on November 1st. My husband wanted to be here tonight, but he will not leave the house if there's any chance of rain. He is so stressed out. I'm waiting for him to have a heart attack any day. I, as well, as I'm a nurse, so I can empathize with the other nurse worrying about other people. When we bought our house, Highland Ridge Phase 3 was not built behind our house yet. We had no flooding issues at all. We had been there for a couple years, no flooding issues. Then when the proposal of Highland Ridge Phase 3 was brought up, there was a meeting at City Hall where the City Hall was there, Corps of Engineers was there, and they promised us that our homes would not flood, that they were going to take care of the drainage, and they promised our homes would not flood. Behind our home was a nice little forest overgrown area. Once they chopped all of that down, that's when the flooding started. They raised Highland Ridge 38 inches above our property. That's a lot. And my house is my property's way down here. Highland Ridge is way up here. I also have 3 drains on my back property for their easement that do not drain because it's so clogged up further down the the cooling. I brought that to their attention. I guess it was about 2012, 2013. I have video that I had my husband's black boots on, and I went in the backyard, and the water was getting in his black boots. That's how deep the water was. That was before they even really started Highland Ridge Phase 3. And as y'all know, the flooding has gotten progressively worse and worse and worse and worse. If it wasn't, you wouldn't have this many people here. The construction has to stop. I don't know what more we need to say. These are our tax dollars. We should have some kind of say where this money is going, and it has to stop. Y'all cannot take care of what y'all already have. It is so far backlogged, y'all can't take care of it. And there's a problem between the city of Lafayette, or the parish of Lafayette, and the city of Youngsville. I called the city of Lafayette, oh, that's Youngsville's problem. I call Youngsville, oh no, that's Lafayette's problem. I call Lafayette, no, that's Youngsville problem. Y'all need to coordinate maybe a little bit better. You know, we're the ones suffering. We are. All of our homes have depreciated, but yet, oh Lord have mercy. And I also want to know what is going to be done with this flooding thing. What are y'all going to do to protect the homes that have already been there for 20 and 30 years? My home was built in the 1970s. And we didn't flood. It flooded when it was, I think it was Tropical Storm Allison or something back in the 80s. That was the only time. And I wish, you know, y'all can't get it straight. It was a 100-year flood. It was a 500-year flood. It was a 1,000-year flood. The other day it was 6 or 7 inches in 4 hours. Make up y'all mind. Get off the pot and let's get to work. We want a timeline. When is it going to start? Where is it going to start? And we need some answers. No more of this, I don't know. It's just, it's got to get better. Y'all got y'all $9 million, y'all got it. Now let's see what y'all gonna do with it. Honestly, y'all should have come here with a plan already for that $9 million. If y'all wanted it, y'all got it. What's the plan? Do y'all have a plan? Didn't think so. Thank you.
Mr. Terrio?
Yes, Ms. Breaux touched on an item there, and I want to engage the audience only by a show of hands. How many of you here would support a moratorium on residential development? Okay, that's all I wanted. Thank you so much.
Next speaker, please.
Wallace Senegal.
Mr. Senegal? Your time is up, ma'am. Ma'am, you're out of order. Thank you.
Good evening, Councilman and Mayor and the audience. I'm Wallace Senegal, concerned citizen, community activist on early vote, every vote count. I want to congratulate all of you guys. I think all of y'all did a wonderful job in getting the millage tax passed, you know. This is why I'm here for tonight, is to maybe get the millage tax, drainage system, tax dollar equally spent. During the flood, we didn't have housing flooding in District 3, but we had a lot of street flooding. We had underpass flooding. And the underpass is like a gateway getting from the north side to the south side. So this is what I'm trying to make sure some of our tax dollars is gone. The lady that was up here just before me, she got it right. She called Youngsville. Youngsville says, city problem. call city says Youngville problem. I got a good solution to that. Why don't we all just put it on the ballot and vote to deconsolidate, and then that way y'all will know what y'all calling, who y'all calling, and when y'all calling. And I think that would be the better way to do that. Wouldn't you say that, Mayor President Joel?
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Kyle Miller.
Mr. Kyle Miller, could you?
Good evening, Mayor Robideau, distinguished councilmen and women. My name is Kyle Miller, and I'm president of the Homeowners Association for the Plantation neighborhood in Lafayette. I had a gentleman speak earlier, so I'll try to skip the pleasantries. We are behind the plantation off College Saloon and Camellia. As all of you are aware, our community was adversely affected during the 1,000-year storm that hit South Louisiana in 2016. While the Lafayette area got 10.5 inches of rain on Friday, another 10.5 on Saturday, the important thing to know is that our neighborhood flooded Friday morning, 4 hours into this 3-day event. Water was coming into our homes by 8 a.m. Friday morning after only 6 inches. The levee that was intended to protect our neighborhood was overtopped, resulting in the flooding of all 146 residential homes. In September of 16, Public Works surveyed our levee to determine that the current elevation. The same month, our Homeowners Association hired a third-party company to conduct the same survey. The results from both parties returned identical numbers. Results showed the levee being lower than design, to which I'll elaborate. The levee was originally designed and built to 31.5 feet as indicated on city documentation. The bridge is also 31.5 feet and never flooded during the August 16 flood, even after 20.5 inches of rain. The 16 elevation survey shows most of the levee is a full 1 foot below the original 31.5 feet, and a critical stretch of the north levee was up to 2 feet below the 31.5 foot mark, allowing the cooler to easily overtop the levee in heavy rains. Had the levee been maintained at the original 31.5 feet, we believe that we would have not flooded since the bridge did not. 3 weeks ago on November 1st, our community had to endure the same flooding that we suffered just 15 months prior. This time there was no 1,000-year rain event, nor was there any storm in the Gulf. Over the course of 4 hours, we received 5.5 inches of rain. Those 5.5 inches were enough to overtop our levee system once again, resulting in the flooding of 50 homes and 22 vehicles. Water poured over the levee into the neighborhood for a couple of hours as the neighborhood surrounding Plantation drained into the Isaac Verrat Coulee. After this flood, we could see new evidence of levee erosion. The association decided to rehire the same third-party company to conduct a follow-up survey. Last week, we received the results showing critical areas where the levee has eroded 8 additional inches in just 15 months, and that is now below 29 feet, total of 2.5 feet from the originally designed height, making our neighborhood even more likely to flood during a typical South Louisiana rainstorm. We've spent months calling and emailing various city parish employees requesting levee maintenance. Finally, it was determined that the Public Works required a geological survey to evaluate the integrity of the levee before proposing a remediation. The survey was finally performed at the end of October, just before the November flood, and we were told that the results should be received and made public at the end of December. Even then, we will still have to wait for the remediation design to be completed, monies to be found, a contractor to be selected, and finally the work to be done. Can this be accomplished in a few months or even a few years? We don't have time to wait this out. In addition to levee neglect, the city's unmaintained, neglected tree line that grows over the north side of the Isaac Verrat Coulee is causing significant deterioration to the levee. Overhanging tree branches shade and drop tons of leaves and branches on the levee, preventing grass from growing. Simply having grass growing will protect the levee height. Homeowners have contacted Public Works numerous times asking that the branches be trimmed, and obviously this hasn't been addressed. Within this tree line, runoff from the city ballpark has cut ravines in the ditches that flow directly into the levee, eroding and destabilizing the inside face of the levee. Excuse me. With all the recent events, do you think that our property value has maintained? Would any of you want to buy a home in an area that is likely to flood, even though we have never been and still are not in a flood zone? As property value goes down, how long will it take the city to adjust our property taxes downward? To recap, in those 15 months, the Plantation subdivision has suffered through 2 floods that could have been avoided with proper maintenance from the city, a scheduled levee analysis that we will still have not received a single result on, hundreds of emails to our councilwoman, 2 separate directors of public works giving conflicting reasons for flooding and allowing the maintenance to wait for the permanent replacement. One of those directors recently telling me over the phone that the only reason that the secondary pump was on site is because the people had an emotional attachment to it. Y'all want to know why we have an emotional attachment to that pump? It's because we have an emotional attachment to our homes, our vehicles, our personal effects, and our families and their safety, all of which are the biggest investments of our lives. We demand that the Isaac Verrett Cooley and Plantation subdivision get first dibs on the new $9 million drainage money that was just approved by voters, and the Cooley work begin immediately upon receipt of results of the geologic study and survey. We demand that the tree line be cleaned up immediately and maintained so the levees don't add to the deterioration.
Time is up. We appreciate you coming out. And
Mr. Nett, thanks for all your help that you do for us.
Speaker.
Bo Mesh.
How you doing? My name's Bo. I live in the Palm subdivision also. Cynthia Mesh is my wife. So on August 13, 2016, during a great flood, the Palm subdivision flooded. Our house took on some water. November 1st this year, we flooded again, right? A large part of it was due to all the developments coming up around us, right? Car dealerships popping up left and right, lots of concrete, no place for the water to go. You can literally watch water flow from these developments into our subdivision, bringing in mud, bringing in silt, clogging up the drainage. The great flood last year, it took several hours for the water to dissipate. It took longer on the 1st. Right? So, yeah, a little bit worked up. So I'm sure the rest of you guys are a little fired up too, right? So let me get back to this. So it makes it difficult, right? Calling my wife to tell her the house is flooded again. That was rough, right? Just rain. It rained a while ago and I'm thinking, man, I better go check on my house, right? Selling the house. Well, that's probably not going to happen. Our property values have pretty much all going down. Oh, and our taxes shot up. Prospect of flooding again. I mean, it's been happening, keeps happening. You know what? I'm not even gonna worry about this. What I'm asking is for a moratorium on development in the areas that are causing the low-lying areas, the houses that have been here for 30, 40, 50, however many years, people that have been here for a long time. You know, if you're going to build something that's going to dump into our neighborhoods, then maybe y'all should hold up on the building up of the building and maybe put a ditch or something. I mean, they got like levees blocking water from getting from the dealerships to the gullies. Now, I'm not a civil engineer. I'm not an expert on this stuff. But if you go and look outside when it's raining, you can literally see the water stopping here and coming into our neighborhood, right? So, like I said, what I'm asking for is hold up on the development. Give us a chance to get our feet dry, right, before we start building. Look, I'm all about development, too. Look, I like the idea of Lafayette growing. We got to do it right, though, right? We can't just keep building on top of places that are already flooding. That's all I got. Thank y'all. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Jared LeBlanc.
LeBlanc.
Good evening. Can you patch me up? Who's in charge of the?
Oh, okay.
I'm not gonna sit here and be repetitive. I was asked last week to speak on behalf of Quail Hollow subdivision right by Como. Everything that you see here was just November 1st, okay? This is the direction of my house. This is 297 Lark, right across Como's High's football field. This man right here got 3 or 4 inches of water in his house, okay? Now, we can sit here and say the same things over and over and over and over and over, but this was about 5:30 that afternoon. The neighbor right next to him, he got about 2 inches of water at about 5:45. These cars right here were being diverted because the end of Camellia got stopped that day or that week. We, the people of Quail Hollow, blocked this road a little further down. You may not be able to do that, but I truly believe it was the wake from the cars that pushed into this man's house. And this is not 2016. This was just the other day. All right? And this is the cul-de-sac down towards the end of Lark Drive down to Cornelius. This is just, and we can harp on the Verrott School Coulee, and if I have a little bit more time, and I don't take it all, I'd like to listen to my boy right there again because he was on a roll. So what we're actually doing is, this is 5 hours. 5 hours. And I just wanted you guys to be able to see it. That's the backside that faces the Verrott Coulee. The coulee, basically what it does is when it fills up, it runs right back into our neighborhood. And the Tessie plant right here, that can't push forth. We contacted them too. All your toilets go out when they can't keep up. And that's not pretty either. Okay? So this whole scenario is a 5-hour period. And the thing, like he said, that happened this night, as a father of 5, we were watching the World Series. At the end of the game, 10:45, 11, we could finally go get the vehicles from the pumpkin patch in Como to put them back in our driveway. That's how long it took the water to go down. Never has it taken that long. So when you speak about reality, the people of Quail Hollow have given me a few things. If you have to title it, it's just worried. If we see the radar and they call for 100% chance of rain, 6 inches or more, every single person is just frantic. My youngest is 10, my oldest is 19. We now have a pattern when the water reaches the sidewalk. We basically start lifting, cleaning. They shouldn't have to live that way. We almost have a routine just to pick stuff up because in 2016, we didn't expect it to happen. And we like the way our house is now. And we don't want to have to do it again. And if Harvey wouldn't have split, it would have happened again. And on this day right here, the closest it came, if it wouldn't have stopped raining at 5:30, we'd have flooded again. So what we're asking and what my neighbors want to know is that the earliest time that we can be given a specific plan, phase, if it's a phase, if it's a plan, we need to not worry so much. When kids turn the middle of the road after an hour into kayak fun, that's worrisome. Only an hour. Most of our people would like to see the elevation and the embankments around the pond surveyed because a lot of the people in our area don't think those 2 retention ponds are doing anything. You can't even tell there's 2 separate ponds after 2 hours. It's a lake. And all that does is spew back towards the individual streets of Quail Hollow. They would like to know what locations and projects are priorities and timelines. As a father, sometimes I just don't know. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Marion Blair.
Marion Blair.
I'm not a pirate. And I'm seeing double, so if I repeat myself, you'll know why. I had cataract surgery this morning. Dale articulated exactly what I wanted to say. As did the other people for the plantation. We're in a crisis mode right now. Our apartment is right across from his, and we were within 1 inch of water on November 1st. My brother-in-law had the place before we did, but I go back to 2005 with the place. It hasn't flooded since then, and I'm told it hasn't flooded since the 80s when it was built back there. And we flooded twice in 2 years. But what really brought me up here tonight was when I went to the homeowners meeting a couple of weeks ago, thinking that we were going to hear something from the city council. And what I heard was, our hands are tied. Your hands are tied. You can't help us. And I'm still shocked at that. I just can't believe that a city like Lafayette cannot deal with this drainage problem. The plantation already had a problem. And then they put a Walmart-sized parking lot next door, 4 foot higher than we are, and didn't touch the drainage that I can see. We're not that far from the Vermilion River. There's no reason why we can't make that coulee drain better than it is. So that's my question, is how could we possibly approve that construction with a known problem already? That seems like negligence to me. You don't have to be an engineer or a hydrologist or anything else to know that you're asking for trouble when you do that. I'm all for building things and increasing, I love it. But we got to take care of the drainage issue first before we start building. We can't just start building and then wait till we have a flood. These people in the plantation, and we bought the place from my brother-in-law because he threw up his hands. He left the state. He's in his 80s. The place was empty for a year. Renovating it, went through 5 contractors. Horrible results. We still working on it. He spent $45,000, lost 2 cars. I put in $25,000 since then. That's $70,000 bucks. But it's not the money as much as it is the heartache of watching everything get destroyed. We had brand new hardwood floors. I mean hardwood, not the laminate. 3/4 inch oak floors that they had never walked on were ruined. The first time anybody ever walked on it was me, with 2 foot of water on the floor. And they were ripped out and thrown away. $14,000. We're building a ghost town right now in the plantation. There's townhouses for sale. How the taxes went up like Dale said, I'll never know. Obviously, somebody's out of touch. But we've got to do something about the plantation. We've got to, and we've got to do it right away. Because people are, or else it's literally going to turn into a place where we're just going to have to bulldoze it one day, because people are going to get tired of trying to fix it and to repair it. So I'm asking you from the bottom of my heart, please help us. We need your help. I've looked at the charter for 2 days. Y'all have the ability to help us. Y'all, like they say, you the man. You can do it. We need your help. So please, take a look at this. It's serious. When you got to go to a high school and ask them to help us fill sandbags, which we have and we're grateful, that's pretty bad. It's embarrassing for the city. Now, we can do better. My time's up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Stan Heimer.
I live in Quail Hollow subdivision, which is near Como High School, and I moved there in May of 1977. And this is how long flooding has been going on. And you know, at the time we had the police jury system. And you had to go talk to police jurors. Well, everybody wanted their little pocket that they were taking care of. Nobody ever did anything. They didn't worry about it. You know what happened? You almost had a sue, threatened to sue the police jury system and picket a parade of homes that was going on at that time in order to get something done, because the police jurors never did move on it. We had our coulee cleaned out one time, and that was in late 78 or early 79, where they came in there and dredged it out and helped the water drain. Now, that's been a lot of years, and it needs to be done again. But what we really need the thing to be concreted. I see big concrete coulees all in the city, drains. If we had something like that, Plantation subdivision, Quail Hollow subdivision, a subdivision right on the other side of Marshall, opposite Como High School, wouldn't have water. I had water 5 times up to my front door, and that wasn't including the one that just recently happened a few weeks ago. That only came up to my garage. But guess what? When some foolish lady tried to drive down in flooded streets and rushed a nice little wave, it went halfway up my garage, hit the front door and bounced off. Thank goodness it didn't get in the house. But you know, the 5th time, which was in August of 16, and we had 10 inches of water. And that's not a pretty good news for an 80-year-old couple, believe me. And I wouldn't have wished a flood on anybody, not even my worst enemy. And I don't have any enemies, but if I did, I'd never wish that they would have a flood. I don't know if any of you ever experienced flood in your home. If you didn't, you really don't know what it is until you feel it. But that's why y'all got to take a stand one of these days. You got to quit beating around the bush and just take a stand and do something. You know, the tax renewal is just approved. It's going to be for drainage. Now, where the money's going to go, how it's going to go, I don't know. I hope it comes on the Isaac very coulee, because it's in bad shape. And then, really, I look in the paper on Sunday, and I get this article about the beautifying of Johnson Street. Hey, that's great. But we better start worrying about keeping water out of people's houses before we try to go beautify this Johnson Street. I mean, it's nice. It's nice to have, parks and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes I know the money's dedicated for something else. But take that money and move it over to drainage. Move it over there where it's going to help people, because this is ridiculous. I mean, this is something that we've been fighting. And I mean, by golly, I just don't understand why we got to consistently look at water coming in our house, coming up to your front door. And, water you can't do nothing about. You can just stand there and see it, and it just keeps getting higher and higher and higher. And before you know it, it gets to the door, and then it comes in the front door. And you can't do nothing about it, not even with sandbags. But that's ridiculous. And you all are in position, but you got to just take a stand. You can't just keep sitting there and talking about it. You got to do something about it. And we hope that you take time to really think about this, because I know a lot of people here are here because of the flood and drainage. I was trying to find out just recently who owns the trees on the coulee. It started in September. I'm in November, and I still don't have a letter from Paul's office telling me who is responsible for the trees. I'm still waiting on that, because I wanted to go in intelligent conversation and talk to my neighbors in the back and say, hey, if that tree falls on my property, you're responsible. Well, I wanted to know if the city was, because if I needed to sue the city, I was going to sue them. I'm not a person who likes to sue. I never did sue anybody in my life, but I wouldn't hesitate if that 100-foot tree fell in the back of my property. And I mean, these are the things we're fighting with the coolies, but you can't get nobody's attention. I've had the drainage, the city, the drainage, the street department, all kind of departments come out, nobody's giving any help. Thank you, just something to think about.
Next speaker, please.
William John.
Oh, 1 second, please. Ms. Hebert?
I had a quick question. Is Chief here? Chief or Deputy Chief? I had a question about, a few people have mentioned that, and maybe you might know the answer, Chairman, you've been here a while. A few people have mentioned that they were close to flooding and then a car came zooming down the road and pushed the water into their homes. And a few people have mentioned that they've used cars to block people from coming onto their street. I know that we certainly don't want people to do that, so because it prevents emergency vehicles from coming in. But what can they do if there's someone, they weren't flooding and then a car comes down and pushes water